Now let's get into this other thing before this fucking thing shuts off again. Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff. Now, Eric Bischoff has always been nice to me. He spoke nicely about me on a few shows. Of course, he's angered a little old buddy of mine, Jim Cornette, to say the least, and he's angered quite a few others. But your quick opinions on those two before this thing shuts down again.
I wish I knew, and we just mentioned Bubba earlier. I don't want to give him any more publicity, but if he walked up to my door right now, I would not even recognize the guy. I don't even know him. I don't know why he doesn't like me. Same with Bischoff. But here's Bischoff the first time I met him. He said, I never liked your character.
So?
And I'm only giving you a job to keep Jimmy Hart will not leave me alone, to shut up Jimmy Hart.
And that's what he tells you. He just can't keep that to himself.
Now, that's what he says. So obviously, if my character, he didn't like it, he hated it so much, it obviously was getting heat with him, which meant I was getting heat with the fans.
That's idiotic.
So then he goes and says, of all the people he fired, I was the number one guy that he enjoyed firing the most.
Oh, my
God.
I
mean, and he even writes that in the WWE book. He went on WWE TV and said that in an interview. What he has against me, I do not know. And, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Well, there you go.
To go back to Rhett Butler and the old Gone with the Wind.
Very aware where you're at.
And so this now come to this, and I asked Larry Zbyszko the other night. I said, Larry, where did this Bischoff, who was driving a meat truck through neighborhoods selling meat out of the back of a pickup truck, where in the hell did he get to be so smart about the wrestling business? And Larry just looked up at me and says, I don't know.
I heard basically that his job was getting coffee for Vern Gagne, and then the next thing you know, he's running wrestling companies.
Well, he was probably doing.
Glory hallelujah if you can pull that off.
Well, he was probably doing more of that meat than what we know about.
Now, another guy who thought he was going to stand and trade with me verbally last week, Mr. Bischoff. He comes on the internet and on his Twitter page, actually if Bischoff's on it, it should be called Twatter, and he's trying to run my credibility down and knock me. And imagine that, said Mr. Pot to Mr. Kettle, throwing the stones in the glass house. He's going to knock my credibility. He said, well, Cornette's eating too many Big Macs. Everybody knows, first of all, Tommy, I don't eat Big Macs. I eat Wendy's triples. They're far superior to McDonald's Big Macs. And secondly, he hurt my feelings. I'm a sensitive guy. He hurt my feelings because I've been on this diet lately. I've cut down sugar. He said I weighed 240, looked like 240 pounds of sausage stuffed in a 12-ounce sack or whatever. He couldn't even get it right because he's not from down south. He doesn't understand these descriptive phrases of speech. I am not 240 pounds, Tommy. I'm down to 231 pounds as of last week. I'll guarantee you that. And I felt insulted. He also said that I'd never been a part of a mainstream, meaningful national promotion, which, of course, I was part of those when he was still getting coffee for Vern Gagne. The only thing that Eric Bischoff has accomplished through his midget wrestling and his celebrity wrestling and his making mockery of the wrestling business, the only thing he's ever accomplished that Jim Cornette didn't accomplish was the company that he was in charge of lost more money in 1 month than every promotion that I have run or worked for in the history of my career ever lost money, period, all rolled together into one. So far, I have not been able to succeed and beat Eric Bischoff as far as running money-losing wrestling promotions. But, if he'd stick to his bad reality shows, that'd be one thing. But when he messes in my business, I want to bring that up. Now they got Jason Hervey. Have you heard this? They got Jason Hervey down there sitting in on the creative meetings. Well, there's a bright wrestling mind for you. I don't even know if he could have absorbed enough from Missy Hyatt to even know anything about professional wrestling during the brief period of time when she went slumming and he got a step ladder and they got together. Maybe Jason Hervey is going to win Bischoff's midget wrestling title. He'll be so that way he and David Arquette can walk hand in hand together. But Mr. Bischoff also said that, he wounded me to the bone with this one, Tommy. He said, If you want bootleg DVDs and fake autographs, well, then Jim Cornette's your guy. He was insulting the fine products that I sell on Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com, and I don't appreciate that because, number one, how can I fake my own autograph, Tommy? Is that one of those circular conundrums like, can God make a rock so big he can't lift it? How can you fake? Is it possible to fake your own autograph, Tommy?
No, he must have had you confused with Kenny Bolin.
He must have had me confused with old bootleg Bolin. I don't do bootleg stuff like old bootleg Bolin. All my stuff is carefully crafted for the people that love professional wrestling. Not like Eric Bischoff, who says, well, the internet wrestling community, you can have that, Cornette. That makes up 5% of our audience. I got news for him. The internet wrestling community, if they stopped watching TNA Impact, then his ratings right now would look like moon landing ratings compared to what he'd have, because if he don't have the wrestling fans, he don't have shit. But he likes to look down on them, just like Vince Russo does. Eric Bischoff likes to look down on the wrestling fans. Why would you want to watch wrestling on a wrestling show? He even said something about having matches where they last 45 minutes and a bunch of guys do moonsaults. No, Mr. Bischoff. Instead of bad, overly scripted, poorly acted, melodramatic falderall and comedy that ain't funny and stupid bullshit that doesn't mean anything, wrestling fans want matches of reasonable length for the participants involved that are portrayed as somewhat serious and important, and they want to have a show that they can watch and not feel insulted or need to take a shower afterward. But you don't understand that. Oh, Mr. Producer of Scott Baio is 45 and single. Oh, Mr. Producer of all these other fucking fine classic television programs that you've foisted off on the air because people will air anything anymore. So don't knock the wrestling fans. The wrestling fans are the ones that get my respect because they're the only ones in the wrestling business that I want to deal with these days. Because the other people involved in the wrestling business are too full of shit for me to be able to stomach. Because, you know, Tommy, I got this bad allergy. I'm allergic to bullshit.